The internet. In this set of lectures, we're going to be talking about the internet, a little bit of background, internet infrastructure, data packets, internet addresses, and domain names. So a little bit of background on the internet. The internet has its origins in efforts to interconnect computers in the late 1950s. Although developed in the US, the internet, that is, it involved international collaboration, particularly with researchers in the United Kingdom and France. Computer science was an emerging discipline in the late 1950s, with consideration for time sharing between computer users, potentially over a wide area network. Computers back then were big and not very powerful, and they wanted to see how computers that were not being utilized could be used to share, to perform the processes that some other computers had initiated. And therefore, it was just kind of logical to see how each one particular computer could be connected to each other and transfer information to do that. Independently, Paul Baran proposed a distributed network based on data in message blocks in the early 1960s. And Donald Davies conceived of packet switching in 1965 at the National Physical Laboratory and proposed building a national commercial data network in the UK. And this is the standard technology of today that is used in communication among digital devices, packet switching, and we'll talk about how this works. As I may have mentioned in other lectures, the Advanced Research Project Agencies, ARPA, initially ARPA, and then DARPA, just kind of added the defense there, DARPA. The Department of Defense awarded contracts in 1969 for the development of the ARPANET project, directed by Robert Taylor and managed by Lawrence Roberts. ARPANET adopted the packet switching technology proposed by Davies and Baran and supported by mathematical work in the early 1970s by Leonard Kleinrock at UCLA. The network was built by both Baranek and Newman, and you can see more stuff on there's a nice Wikipedia page on the history of the internet. There's several resources on this history. And of course, our textbook also talks a little bit about it. This is the actual original diagram of the ARPANET, which included 4 nodes. I'm not sure if these are 4 universities, but UCLA is a university. You see, I think this is also, you see Santa Barbara, SRI, Utah, and that was the beginning. Early internet pioneers used primitive command line user interface to send email, transfer files, and run scientific calculations on internet supercomputers, or at least at that time, they were supercomputers. And you may remember screens that kind of look like this, or you may have seen it elsewhere. This is what we mention when we say command line interface. We still use command line interface nowadays because it's very useful and efficient for all sorts of tasks behind the computers. But of course, we have evolved to other kinds of visualizations as well. By the 1990s, software and hardware developers created new user-friendly tools, and internet accounts became available to anyone willing to pay a monthly subscription fee. The internet now is a global network of networks. It has an estimated 500 million nodes and more than 3 billion users. This, by this count, may have grown since these last statistics. It is estimated that the internet handles more than 2 exabytes of data every day. An exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes, which is an unimaginable amount of data. So it's a lot. Who runs this thing? In theory, and I guess I think in practice as well, No single person, organization, company, or government runs the entire internet. So it is really operated in a kind of decentralized network fashion. Now, of course, details can be a little bit more controversial on who gets access, who gets to determine what, but generally it's fairly decentralized process. Various technology standards for the internet are established by independent groups and the International Organization for Standardization. For the several types of devices to connect to each other, there has to be standards. And people have to agree on the standards, otherwise they're not standards and the devices can not communicate. So even though it's decentralized, there is a kind of a standardization at various levels that need to be obtained and that are obtained for the communication networks to succeed. Internet governance is a set of shared protocols, procedures, and technologies that evolve through common agreement among network providers. The organization that supervises internet addressing is ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Signed Names and Numbers. Internet infrastructure. Next time, we're going to talk about internet infrastructure.